Rey Mysterio's San Diego home, lucha libre glory, legacy in the private life never revealed. What happens when the mask comes off, when the lights fade, when the crowd stops chanting 619? Who is Rey Mysterio at home? For decades, Rey Mysterio has flown across WWE rings like a superhero, defying gravity, defying size expectations, defying critics, a global icon of lucha libre, a symbol of heart over height. But behind the mask, behind the legend, is a private life in San Diego that few have truly seen. And today, we step inside. Welcome to Life of Legends. This is the untold story of Rey Mysterio's San Diego home. His wealth, his struggles, his legacy, his family, and the quiet life that shaped one of wrestling's greatest underdogs. And trust me, the story is bigger than the ring. San Diego, California. Sunlight, ocean breeze, palm-lined streets. This is where Rey Mysterio built stability after a career filled with impact. Not just physical impact, life impact. His home isn't a flashy Hollywood mega mansion. It's something more meaningful. A carefully chosen sanctuary. Private, secure, family-centered. Because for Rey, home represents survival. Born Scar Gutierrez in 1974, Rey grew up immersed in lucha libre culture. Trained by his uncle, the legendary Rey Mysterio Sr., he entered professional wrestling as a teenager. Small frame, huge dream. But the wrestling world in the 1990s wasn't designed for smaller athletes. It favored giants, heavyweights, powerhouses. And Rey, he was different, fast, explosive, innovative. When he joined WWE, everything changed. The 619, the masks, the aerial moves, the underdog victories. Suddenly size didn't matter. Heart did. And in 2006, he shocked the world, winning the Royal Rumble. Then, capturing the World Heavyweight Championship. A moment that redefined what was possible in professional wrestling. That victory didn't just elevate his career, it elevated his market value. Sponsorships, merchandise, international tours, action figures, video game appearances. Rey Mysterio became more than a wrestler. He became a brand. And that brand translated into financial security. Over decades in wrestling, endorsements, and merchandise royalties, Rey built significant wealth. Estimates place his net worth in the multi-million-dollar range. But here's what makes it powerful. Every dollar was earned through physical sacrifice. Knee surgeries, shoulder injuries, countless bumps. Every championship came with a cost. Which brings us back to San Diego. Because after traveling the world, after performing in front of millions, Rey chose something grounded. His home is designed for comfort, open living spaces, personal gym area for conditioning, wrestling memorabilia walls, family photographs, faith symbols. It's not built to impress the world, it's built to protect his family. And family is everything. His son, Dominic, his wife, Angie. A household shaped by wrestling history. In fact, Dominic followed in his footsteps, continuing the Mysterio legacy inside WWE. But that journey wasn't simple. It came with pressure, expectations, comparisons, and headlines. Because when your father is a legend, you don't get to start at zero. You start under a spotlight. And inside that San Diego home, those conversations happened. Training sessions, mentorship, father and son navigating fame together. But not everything has been smooth. Over the years, Rey faced career-threatening injuries, public contract disputes, industry politics, questions about retirement. Each setback forced him to reevaluate, yet somehow he returned. Stronger, sharper, more strategic. And now in 2026, Rey Mysterio stands not just as a performer, but as a legacy architect. A Hall of Fame-level career, a global fan base, a respected veteran voice. But what does his daily life actually look like today? Does the legend still train like a rookie? How does he maintain wealth? What rumors surround his future? And what secrets does his San Diego sanctuary still hold? Close your eyes for a second. Imagine stepping inside the private world of a wrestling icon. Not the arena, not the spotlight, but the place where Rey Mysterio removes the mask and becomes Scar Gutierrez. San Diego isn't just a random choice. It's intentional. Peaceful neighborhoods, ocean air, strong Hispanic culture, close to training facilities, close to family roots. For Rey Mysterio, this city represents balance. And balance is something he fought decades to earn. His home reflects that mindset. Modern architecture blended with warm, traditional touches. Large windows inviting natural California sunlight. Open living areas designed for gatherings. A backyard space perfect for privacy and family barbecues. This isn't a billionaire mega compound. It's a multi-million-dollar sanctuary built around comfort and protection. Security systems are discreet but advanced. Privacy fences line the property because when you've performed in front of millions, you value quiet moments. But let's talk numbers. Over his long career across WCW, international promotions, merchandise royalties, and licensing deals, Rey built an estimated net worth in the range of $10–15 million, and that's conservative. His income streams include WWE salary contracts, premium live event bonuses, merchandise revenue, especially video game appearances, brand collaborations. And remember, Rey Mysterio merchandise has consistently ranked among top WWE sellers for years. That mask is not just fabric, it's revenue. Inside his home, you'll find a private training space. Because even in his late career years, Rey trains like someone trying to prove himself. Resistance bands, conditioning equipment, mobility drills, low-impact strength work. After multiple knee surgeries and countless high-risk aerial maneuvers, longevity became strategy. He had to adapt, because the same moves that made him legendary also damaged his body. Behind the glory, there were injuries most fans never saw. Ankle tears, cartilage damage, rehabilitation months that tested his patience, moments when doctors questioned whether he could return at the same level. And yet, he came back, every time, stronger mentally, smarter physically. Now let's talk about lifestyle beyond wrestling. Rey isn't known for extravagant supercar collections or private jets. His wealth is managed carefully. Reliable luxury vehicles, family-oriented purchases, long-term financial planning. This is a man who grew up earning everything the hard way. Flash doesn't impress him. Stability does. And then there's legacy. Because inside that San Diego home, history lives on the walls, framed championship moments, signed memorabilia, photos with wrestling legends, tributes to his uncle Rey Mysterio Sr. These aren't decorations, they're reminders of where he started, of what he survived, of what he built. But the most powerful part of that house? The conversations. Late night talks with his son, career advice, mistakes to avoid, lessons about fame. Because Dominic Mysterio didn't just inherit a name, he inherited expectations. And that kind of pressure can either break you or forge you. In recent years, storylines involving Dominic have blurred fiction and reality, family tension angles, on-screen rivalries, dramatic betrayals. Fans wondered how much of this affects their real relationship. Inside the San Diego home, business and family must stay separate. That requires maturity, communication, and trust. But here's something even more interesting. 2026 whispers about transition. Is Rey nearing retirement? Is he preparing for a backstage role, mentorship, creative involvement, or perhaps one final iconic run? Because legends rarely leave quietly. And Rey Mysterio is no ordinary legend. What does it really cost to stay legendary? Because being a champion once is hard, but staying relevant for over 3 decades, that's almost impossible. And yet, Rey Mysterio did exactly that. When Rey first broke into mainstream American wrestling, he wasn't supposed to succeed. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the heaviest. He didn't fit the traditional heavyweight mold, but he had something others didn't. Speed, precision, fearlessness, and fans connected instantly. But success brought pressure. The moment he won the Royal Rumble, the moment he captured the World Heavyweight Championship, the expectations changed. Now he wasn't just the underdog. He was the standard. And standards are harder to maintain than dreams. Backstage politics in professional wrestling are real. New talent arrives every year, younger, faster, stronger. And for a veteran like Rey, the challenge wasn't just performance, it was adaptation. Adapting to new storytelling styles, adapting to evolving audiences, adapting to social media scrutiny. Because today, one botched move goes viral in seconds. One injury becomes headline news. One rumor spreads globally overnight. And speaking of rumors, 2026 has been filled with speculation. Is Rey preparing for retirement? Is he transitioning into a mentorship role? Will he fully step aside to elevate his son Dominic? Or is there one final championship moment left? Wrestling fans love speculation, but Rey has mastered silence. He doesn't overpromise, he doesn't tease recklessly, he moves strategically. But let's talk about something even deeper. Pain. For over 30 years, Rey's body has absorbed impact most people couldn't survive. Springboard splashes, top rope hurricane ranas, high-risk dives to the outside, each move thrilling the crowd, but slowly taxing his knees and spine. He has undergone multiple surgeries, rehabilitation months away from the spotlight, moments of doubt, moments of frustration, moments inside his San Diego home where he had to ask himself, can I keep doing this? And yet, every comeback was stronger. Because Rey's motivation wasn't ego, it was legacy. He wanted to prove that Lucha Libre belonged on the biggest stages in the world. And he did. He opened doors for generations of smaller wrestlers. Without Rey Mysterio, the modern high-flying style might not dominate WWE the way it does today, but perhaps the most emotional chapter of his story is watching his son rise. Dominic Mysterio's journey hasn't been easy. Fans compare, critics analyze, storylines blur reality. But imagine the pressure of living inside a house where your father is a Hall of Fame legend. That's motivation, but it's also weight. And inside their San Diego home, they've had the conversations most fans will never hear about criticism, about growth, about carving your own identity. There's also locker room respect. You don't survive decades in WWE without earning it. Veterans respect his professionalism. Younger talent respects his humility. He's known not just for skill, but for kindness, for helping others improve, for giving advice without ego. And that kind of reputation, it's priceless. But time waits for no one. The wrestling world is changing rapidly. Athleticism is at an all-time high. Storytelling evolves. Audiences demand constant excitement. So the big question remains, how long can Rey Mysterio keep defying age the way he once defied gravity? Legends aren't just built in arenas, they're built in decisions. Financial decisions, career decisions, family decisions. And in 2026, Rey Mysterio isn't just thinking about matches, he's thinking about legacy. For many athletes, the hardest transition isn't winning championships, it's life after the spotlight. History shows us countless sports icons who earned millions, but lost it through poor planning. Rey took a different path. Over 3 decades in professional wrestling, he didn't just earn, he diversified. Beyond WWE contracts, his wealth includes long-term merchandise royalties, licensing from action figures and video games, appearances at global events, brand collaborations tied to lucha culture. And here's something powerful. His mask is intellectual property. It's not just part of his costume, it's a brand symbol recognized worldwide. And brand symbols generate recurring revenue. While some wrestlers rely purely on match paydays, Rey built sustainability. Real estate investments in California, smart asset management, low-risk lifestyle spending compared to many celebrities. His San Diego home isn't just comfort, it's equity. Property in Southern California has historically appreciated over time. That's long-term thinking. But perhaps the biggest investment he's making is in the next generation. Dominic's career isn't accidental. It's strategic evolution, mentorship at home, guidance behind the scenes, advice on contracts, advice on branding, advice on longevity. Because Rey knows something most young athletes don't. Fame is temporary, reputation is permanent. And then there's the possibility of expansion. Wrestling schools, production involvement, creative direction roles, Hall of Fame speaking engagements, even potential documentary projects. When you've been in the industry this long, your knowledge becomes currency, but whispers remain. 2026 rumors suggest WWE may be gradually positioning Rey for a reduced in-ring schedule. Not as a farewell, but as evolution. Could we see him transition into a backstage producer role? A mentor to the high flyers inspired by his style? Or perhaps a selective special attraction performer? Because legends don't disappear, they adapt. And let's not forget, the wrestling world has changed financially. Streaming deals, international media rights, premium live events expanding globally. Veteran performers now have leverage earlier generations didn't. Rey Mysterio's value isn't just physical performance, it's credibility. When his music hits, crowds still erupt. That's brand equity. Inside his San Diego home, decisions are being made quietly. Financial planners consulted. Future appearances evaluated. Health prioritized more than ever. Because at this stage of life, it's not about proving anything. It's about protecting everything. Family, reputation, health, legacy. But here's the emotional layer. What happens when the mask finally rests? For over 30 years, the mask wasn't just costume. It was identity, strength, heritage, responsibility. Walking away from that isn't just retirement. It's transformation. One day, the music will hit for the final time. The crowd will chant 619 one last time. And Rey Mysterio will stand in the center of the ring, knowing the journey has come full circle. But that day hasn't come yet. And maybe that's what makes this chapter so powerful. For over 3 decades, Rey defied every expectation. Too small, too light, too different. That's what critics once said. But in a world built for giants, he became a giant in spirit. His San Diego home isn't just a luxury residence. It's a symbol of survival, of discipline, of smart decisions, of a man who endured pain most athletes couldn't tolerate and still chose to smile behind the mask. Because Rey Mysterio understood something early, legacy isn't about dominance, it's about impact. And the impact is undeniable. He changed how wrestling viewed smaller athletes. He opened doors for high flyers across the globe. He carried lucha libre culture onto the biggest stages in the world. Without him, modern wrestling would look very different. But beyond championships, beyond main events, beyond Royal Rumble victories, there's something even more powerful: family. Inside that quiet San Diego sanctuary, he isn't a champion. He's a father, a husband, a mentor, a protector. And those roles don't require spotlight. They require presence. The rumors about retirement will continue. Speculation will grow louder. Fans will debate timelines. But here's the truth. Rey Mysterio doesn't need one final match to validate his career. His career validated itself. Every comeback after surgery, every high-risk dive, every moment he proved size doesn't define greatness. And perhaps that's why his story resonates so deeply. Because Rey wasn't supposed to succeed. He wasn't built like the others. He didn't look like the others. But he outworked the narrative and rewrote it. When historians look back at professional wrestling, they won't just remember championships. They'll remember the mask, the movement, the culture shift, the underdog who became a pillar. And long after the final bell rings, the legacy will live on. Through Dominic, through the next generation of high flyers, through every kid who looks in the mirror wearing a mask and believes they can defy expectations too. Because some legends are measured in titles, but others are measured in inspiration. Rey Mysterio is both. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Rey Mysterio's San Diego home, wealth, struggles, and legacy, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Life of Legends, we don't just talk about fame, we reveal the human story behind it. And the next legend is already waiting